I'm so happy we watched this one. This one definitely would have flown under my radar, but I loved it. I thought it was super cute.
So happy you guys are joining me to talk about it. It's Netflix trash.
I know.
Okay.
Is that where it debuted or is that just where it ended up? I have no clue the history of the movie.
That's where it's from.
Oh,
It had like a little, I guess, a New York City Paris theater premiere on November 11th, 2024, but Spellbound was released via Netflix on November 22nd officially. So, this is our little topic for today on the Thoughtcast, conversations about animation. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you, Bridget, for joining me from great state of Georgia. I'm Philip Elke up here in northern Minnesota, where it's in sub-zero temperatures. You know, it's the Thoughtcast, so we always have to give an update on the weather conditions wherever we're at.
Well, luckily, we just had a snow day, so it's been really, really cold.
we all can talk about how cold we are.
Yeah, it's freezing. Like yesterday, it was like feels like 18, and I was like, yeah, I hate this. And we have no salt trucks in our area, so everyone just had to stay home today because everything was icy.
Wow.
So we're having a weird, unprecedented climate here in Georgia.
Climate is ruined.
It was like it was negative 26 on my way to work yesterday.
That is
Okay.
insane.
Hmm.
And you guys
Very
have to like
fun.
go places. Like, yeah, they're just like, hey, you guys can't leave, and if you do, you'll probably wreck. So like, don't. So we just stayed home. Like the kids don't have school tomorrow either. They had a half day Tuesday, no school today, and they don't have school tomorrow either because it's supposed to be icy in the morning.
Oh my God. That's just pathetic. Pathetic. I mean, there was no school Monday because of the MLK holiday, but yeah, Tuesday, I think some schools were like 2 hours late. I don't think any closed down completely. Maybe that's a possibility, but yeah, it was egregious yesterday, as we're recording this, which was Tuesday, and but still, for the most part, no one was out of school the whole day, even though it was down to like negative. I don't know what the high was yesterday. It was probably like negative 20. It was just terrible.
Yeah, that sounds awful. Like, well, they mainly did it because like you just can't drive in it here. They don't have trucks. They can't salt the roads. They don't do anything. I think they might have done some of the interstates, but other than that, they were just like even the base that we live near is closed. Everything's closed.
It's-
Nothing's open. Not even Starbucks.
Not even Starbucks. How are we going to make it?
I saw that Seven Brew is open, but all the Starbucks in the area are closed. And I was like, people were like, "Where can I get coffee?" And I was like, "You guys probably should have drive, at least until the sun comes out."
Mm-mm.
Hey, we're getting a seven brew here in my town.
They're really popular down here,
Yeah.
Philip. I had never heard of them before, but now I feel like every corner I turn, they're like, drive on in, grab your iced coffee now.
It
Hmm.
reminds me, like, because they're new to the area in the last like year or two, but it reminds me of Dutch Bros, which they have out west,
Hmm.
which we don't have. But it's kind of the same. It's like drive through. You can't go in. They have fancy little
Okay.
coffees. I've only been
Okay,
once
well,
because there's not one near where I live, so I had to
there
see it.
was, yeah, I tried stopping by Caribou yesterday. Caribou Coffee. There's a drive-through only location I drive past on my way to work, and that was closed because their hot water, I think, I don't know. I think they're back open again today. Yes, that's where I got my coffee today. So it wasn't anything too damaging, like pipes freezing or anything like that, apparently. But they just said they had no hot water yesterday. So yeah, Starbucks being closed, that's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, they were like, "Oh, make sure you treat your pipes and so your stuff doesn't freeze." And I was like, "What am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do for that." And so we just went and like wrapped and duct taped the spigots outside and then just leave the water dripping at night. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've never lived somewhere where I have to worry about this. This is not something I have to worry about. So I'm like Googling it. I'm like, I don't know. This is when I'm not used to this.
Oh, well, welcome to the club. Jody
Yeah,
and I,
we're all thawing on the chat tonight.
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, we're Netflix and chilling today on the Thodcast, talking about some animation from 2024. This is a fascinating topic. This is the first Skydance animation film. Have any of you done any background on Sky? Like today, I was just kind of looking at some info on the history of this company, and they are kind of a successor to an earlier um, Spanish animation studio called Oh shoot. Um, it has something to do with the Iliad. I'll have to look up the name because their old logo.
You'll have to call up Mrs. Holland for your Spanish help.
Okay, Ilion animation because their logo had the Trojan horse on it. Um,
Hmm.
But now are they combined somehow with Paramount? I feel like that's what I had seen when I was reading about it, that they merged.
Skydance was affiliated with Paramount. I don't think Skydance Animation is any longer.
Ah, okay.
Originally,
Yeah.
their announcement of these films, their first couple animated features, were tied to Paramount release, theatrical release, even the theatrical distribution. But that changed to first Apple releasing their first film, Luck, which I have not yet seen on Apple TV, and then they there was a long delay with this film, Spellbound, originally titled Split, and now they are partnered with Netflix for their distribution.
Yeah, I was reading they were with Apple TV, and then Apple TV was like, "Hey, you guys are too expensive and like not super good." And so then they kind of like floated around, and then Netflix picked them up because they did Luck, the movie Luck.
Did you see?
I
I've
haven't
seen
seen
Luck.
that. Oh, you
Yeah, I've
did?
watched it. Yeah, I it's just kind of like a goofy kid movie. It's like a girl like she like has to save a leprechaun or I don't even remember what the actual like thing, but there's a little like animal friend who's a black cat who talks, and it's like, all the superstitious stuff like walking under ladders, blah blah
Hmm.
blah, and it's St. Patrick's Day themed, obviously, because it's luck. So
Okay.
I always see their Funko Pops at Second and Charles. They cannot sell those things. But I was like, it's because Luck wasn't a very good movie. Like it was fine for kids. My kids liked it, fine. But it was it's
It's kind
okay.
of a COVID release too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
these movies kind of get buried. I imagine it's not as bad with, kids' movies, because parents and kids are always looking out for something new
Yeah.
to sit down in front of. But
Kids are easy to please too. They're just like, oh, haha, that was
not a lot
funny.
of, yeah, not a lot of pop in circumstance though. But
Hmm.
sorry, I know Jody, you were saying something earlier.
Well, I just pulled up their animation website just to see, and it's like the simplest website I've ever seen. And the only animation clips, obviously, are from
It looks like
Spellbound,
Hmm.
but it looks like they're hiring. And it looks like they're building in Connecticut, Los Angeles, and Madrid. But I don't know, go to their website. It's kind of unique. There's like three paragraphs on the whole site. It's
See,
beautiful. It's nice and simple.
I went on my phone and like couldn't find anything other than blush. And I was like, what is happening? So I'm like, maybe their cell phone version isn't that good. They need to relook at that, revamp that.
Okay, skydanceanimation.com. I mean, it's been ages since I've just typed an address into the address bar, the literal domain name, .com,
Hmm.
skydanceanimation.com. And then it corrected to skydance.com/animation. And then yeah, there's just a banner here of blush, and then it's rotating a couple different things. Skydance animation, where imagination is being reimagined. That's a
Very creative, just like the dark darkness woods, the dark of the dark
Oh,
woods.
yes.
Yeah.
So, so dark they had to say it twice in the name.
The
They said,
the
"How are you gonna know it's dark if we
the
don't stop?"
dark forest of eternal darkness, I think.
Yes, that's what it
Literally what
was.
I don't know. They're trying to be cute, like something from a Rob Reiner film. Like what is it in The Princess Bride? Um
Oh,
the four.
the forest of
I don't know.
I
there's
don't
this
know.
thing about like the
There's
enormous rats of unusual size.
rodents of unusual size, which is great. There's just kind of a half-hearted attempt at some of these, I don't know, attempts to be sort of Pixar-esque in the humor and be a little quirky, be a little clever, because the roots trace back to like Pixar with like the John Lasseter connection. Okay, the Fire Swamp. It was
The
the
fires.
Yeah.
because yeah, director of one of the co-directors of Shrek. Shrek was directed by a team of director or a man and woman team. Andrew Adamson, I believe, was the other director on Shrek, and then Vicky Jensen, and she's the sole credited director on Spellbound. Yeah, a strong pedigree, I guess you could say, of talent being touted for this film Spellbound, but it was a long, drawn out trajectory of getting this movie made, and I'm sure there were plenty of like struggles along the way as to why that was the case.
When I saw that, and it's probably because they were changing hands. Because I read that they like did some stuff with like Paramount, but then that got changed, and then they moved to Apple, and they got changed again. Then Netflix took it over, and then they also did like all the production and stuff during COVID. So I imagine it just gets drawn out with all the changes.
Yeah, they must have had trouble breaking the story. I mean, I don't know, even the final product, I think, leaves some to be desired, and I think they were probably wringing their hands on, do we tweak it or try to, tweak it even more in the edit, or I don't know. We've got Alan Menken, he did the music, but even that doesn't seem to necessarily be maybe enough to convince, because like they debuted the film at Annecy, the animation festival in France in 2023, like way back in
Oh,
2023.
wow.
Hmm.
They had a cut of the film that they showed, but then yeah, there was no real news of wide distribution until June 2024 when Netflix announced that the movie would come out in November 2024. I mean we'll get into it, like how well we thought this movie resonated, and like I was confused. I watched this film in a couple chunks, Spellbound, where I didn't even realize there's an obvious reason as to why this movie was initially titled Split as the working title. Back when Skydance Animation announced their first couple of films, Luck and Split. Of course, Split would also be the name of a totally separate
I love the
animation.
movie Split
I was
with
about to
Yeah.
where
say
he has split personalities. Like that's one of
I
my favorite
yeah,
movies. So I would have been like, wait a minute, I'm obsessed with this movie. But I think they
Yeah.
maybe should have called it that because I will
it would
say
have
like
made more sense.
yeah, and my favorite part was they did like kind of tackle like co-parenting and divorce, and there are not a lot of movies out there, kid movies, that talk about this. And I think to myself, there are so many kids who either come from like a divorced family or grow up and divorce. I mean, it's prominent,
Yeah,
obviously.
so spoiler alert, this
Oh,
animated
sorry,
movie,
spoiler
well,
alert.
Yeah,
It's
spoiler. It's
kind
on
of like
Netflix. You guys should watch it by
this
now.
animated movie, yeah, is literally themed around divorce,
yeah, parent separation.
which is uncommon.
It is uncommon.
Did it like catch you guys though before
It
the end of the
surprised
movie?
me.
Because it did not. That's not where I thought we were going. I thought it was just like, oh,
No.
they like figure out their differences and then everyone's better. Or like, they're gonna work through it all together. And then they're like, oh no, they're getting a divorce. And I was like, oh, oh, that's not what I expected at all.
Yeah, they just drop
But
it on.
I am glad that
I
yeah,
do
I'm
think
glad
they
that
should
they
have
didn't
done
like
a oh, sorry, we're all like
no, you're
jibble
good.
jabber. No, I agree. Like when you get to the end and you realize that is sort of the theme you don't really see it coming. Like you said, you don't see it coming. And I feel like they should have dropped more like hints and nuggets along the way. And I mean, I get it now looking back, like the daughter, the princess was sort of dropping hints about how her parents didn't always get along, but like she wanted to bring back the family unit. But it was so focused on like bringing her parents back from being monsters. And I feel like they didn't foreshadow enough with like actual arguments or anything. So
Yeah. Well, and
they
I
could
think
have
I'm
done
like
more.
maybe I'm like maybe it's supposed to be like colored from the kid's perspective because like a lot of times kids don't know their parents are going to get divorced. I mean, obviously there's some that do, but like a lot of times the parents go out of the way to like make sure the kid doesn't know that there's issues. So then when they do get a divorce, it's kind of like they're like, "Oh, that's like such a big shock to the kid." And so I'm like, I guess I kind of get it. But yeah, I do think they should have like foreshadowed it more to kind of be like they're not going to be together. Like they're like they
Mhm.
turned into monsters because of the fighting, but not like that takes so long to get to. Because I was like I was like, how? Why did they become monsters? And then it's like, hour in, and they're like, oh, yeah, they fought sometimes. That's
Mhm.
why. And I'm like, and then they started to be able to talk. And I'm like, oh, that's why.
I thought I
Okay.
had
Because
missed
I was, yeah,
it.
there's times I was a bit confused. I also was like, maybe I just
I
wasn't
thought
paying
so too.
attention.
So I kind of like Philip. I watched the first half and then I was going to watch the second half. And when I hopped into the second half, I was like, wait, I missed something. They haven't even like told us why they are monsters. And like you said, it's probably just to like reflect her comprehension of the situation.
Mhm.
But I do think, and I mean, maybe they didn't do it perfectly, but I do think it's like a healthy way for like tackling that conversation because can you guys think of any other movie where there's like an active separation happening? I feel like there's movies out there where, geared towards kids where the parents maybe aren't like living together, but not like mid divorce
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
So
I mean, not like animated movies. I'm like the
yeah,
Santa Claus, they're like going through a divorce.
th that's one big one. Like growing up, there were some that dealt with this in the 90s. It was kind of a popular subject, I think, for quasi kid films. Like of course, Mrs. Doubtfire, one example. Another Tim Allen movie, Jungle to Jungle.
Oh,
Um,
right.
he like has to go and get his procure legal divorce from his estranged wife who's living in the Amazon, and then finds out he has a 13-year-old kid
I
besides.
like that movie. We should revisit that at some point.
Right.
A
But
classic movie series.
so, like, yeah, this was, kind of the subject. What I'm trying to think of the phraseology, the du jour, of the day. Yeah, so just like Rachel Zegler is kind of the vocal talent du jour of sort of of this day and age of animated and fairy tale releases. I thought she
Yeah,
did a good job.
I think she did a wonderful job. She's about to come out in the live action remake of Snow White. And then I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys saw her in West Side Story or The Hunger Games Mockingjay, I think is what it's called. That prequel that came out.
Oh, it was great.
I
I
really
enjoyed
like
it.
her and I like her singing and I like her attitude and her spunk. And I feel like the animated character was the perfect, like almost modeled after
Mhm.
her, the actress, the voice actress, Ziegler.
I was so surprised that they had such like a star-studded cast
It was
for a
stacked.
Netflix. Yeah, for a Netflix movie. I'm like, how much? Like, what was your budget?
Nicole Kidman, Nathan Lane, Titus Burgess. We were talking about
Yeah,
those a
like
little bit beforehand.
yeah, like Javier Bardem. They had John Ratzenberger because they're like, you know what? We're gonna
Oh,
get him in something.
she's friends with John Lasseter. Um,
Yeah,
but
John Lithgow, like
did
so
we
many people.
mention West Side Story? And that's where Ziegler has
West
her
Side
too.
Story. So she's in like those
Mhm.
not hard hitting, but like big hitting
Big,
musicals.
Yeah.
yeah. Did she get like an Oscar from that?
Um,
Did she
I,
get like a big award from being in West Side Story, or did West Side Story get an Oscar?
I'm not
She,
sure.
she wasn't nominated, no,
No,
but
I
there
thought she
were.
got like some big award.
Maybe she will be for Spellbound. Just kidding. But I liked her. I liked her a lot. I thought she had good character development. And I thought, I mean, I saw some people saying like, ooh, the animation looked like it was on a tight budget. But watching it on my big screen, I thought the animation was really, really good. So I don't know if like that reviewer just had ants in his pants. But I loved the vibrancy throughout this whole movie. And I love made up creatures, or kind of like Pokemon are made up or Digimon are made up. Like the forest is full of these like not real but maybe could be real fantasy animals. I liked it so much.
Mhm.
Or they have like the flying cats. I mean, I thought the animation was good too. Like I was like, oh, this is like, pretty much on bar. Like I'm not surprised that the guy and one of the producers used to be Pixar. Like I was like this I'm not surprised with the level of animation. But I did because of course I when I watched it, like I when we watched it just randomly and just because I was like, oh, I'm looking for something to watch with the kids. And I was like, wow, I liked this movie more than I liked Wish. And I like to look for like, like little YouTube things where people talk about the movie and whatever, just to learn extra stuff or just to hear someone yap while I'm cleaning. And one of the videos I found was Wish is better than Spellbound, and I was like, don't agree. Don't agree. I didn't like Wish very much.
I didn't
I
either. And people were saying Spellbound wasn't memorable. Like the songs weren't catchy or whatever. But like I said earlier, I watched it in two parts and I remember like listening to the little part, what is it, Finkus, the little purple guy singing about trying all the different foods. I could get used to this. Like some of the
Mhm.
songs did kind of stick with me. Wish I can't remember a single song. So like I feel like Spellbound has some merit with that.
Yeah.
no, I totally disagree. I want to rewatch Wish. I just haven't been watching too many, things like that lately. It's just hard for me to get back to revisiting some stuff. But no, I would say that just Chris Pine's performance in that film alone is more interesting than anything going on in in this movie,
Yeah, but the
Spellbound.
Huh.
music though, the music was so bad. Like
It
like
wasn't
his
great
whole like
here.
no, yeah, and that like the music's so bad. I don't know. Wish I'm a Wish hater. I didn't like it. Like I felt
Me too,
bad.
at my
We
core.
we did a princess event Saturday and there was an Asha and she was like, "Oh, she was like, I don't remember what her wish is." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, but I don't remember anything from Wish because I didn't like it." And she was like, "Honestly, I didn't really like it either."
And
And I was like, "Then you're her."
every time I walk into Target, all of the like Wish merch, they're like, please buy this from us. It's only $1,
Yeah,
please.
we've
Like
marked it down.
discounted
Please take it.
99%. Like, will somebody take these toys? And everyone's like, no, my kid don't know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, there's an element of hype with something like Wish from, Walt Disney, their premier animation studio. But this, I had no clue. Like you mentioned, you watched Spellbound, Bridget, and I hadn't even seen like a single image from this film, so I had no idea
you know
what
what
to
I thought
expect.
was confusing about the poster that confused me? There was another movie that came out with a similar, in my opinion, a similar poster. It was that Ryan Reynolds If, where like they have imaginary monsters and they're
I've
like
also watched
coming through
that.
the door.
Yeah.
So I think I might be wrong, but I thought the Spellbound poster, hang on, Spellbound poster,
Yeah, I'm like, let me look it up because I don't know what it looks like.
and then the If poster. Okay, it's just like two purple
Oh.
guys, but like I thought that this movie was that movie. So
Mhm.
that was another reason it kind of went beyond
I
my
mean,
brain.
the purple monster and the purple monster, they look very, very similar. Because I've also watched that one. Scarlett watched it and was like, "Oh, I cried." So I was like, "Oh, I guess I'll watch it then." So I watched it. But like usually I'm watching like anime and stuff, but so I have to like find things to watch with like Oliver. I'm like, all
We,
right, something
Did he like
animated.
it? Like, what did he think as a little 4-year-old, 5-year-old brain? Did
Oh,
he get it?
well, no, he didn't understand like the message. He just thought like the monsters were funny every time that they would like get into it, like the monsters would be like yelling at each other, like roaring. He thought that was funny. He thought that Flink, the little pet, was funny. So yeah, he enjoyed it. He sat there and watched it. So I was like, cool. Because like he's very like hot and cold with movies. So if I can get him to like sit down and actually watch something and him not think it's scary, then like I'm like, okay, this is a win.
I liked when the monsters, so basically they don't have speech, like they're acting like crazy feral dogs in the beginning as her parents. And once they do start to develop their language, I like how they slowly have to learn it. Like it doesn't just pop all into their head at once. Like when he's calling her his dogger instead of his
Yeah.
daughter and little stuff like that, I
It's
thought
fun.
was cute. I thought it was fun. Hmm.
He was like, I need to release liquid now from my body.
Philip's like, nah, not
It's good. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before, really. But
Yeah,
I
well, that's what
thought,
I'm like, it's
yeah.
I feel like it's just I guess in like the landscape of just like sequels and prequels and everything, I was like, okay, something new. It's silly. Like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you guys have to watch this. It's going to change your life and you're going to cry." None of that. But I was like, yeah, it's cute. It was a cute little movie on Netflix that I didn't have to pay for.
Well, it was no. I mean, we've had a decent streak. I think we've had sort of an annual tradition of talking about some decent animated films that did premiere on Netflix, like The Sea Beast was really good. That was
mhm.
I
nominated for
like
an
Sea
Oscar.
Beast.
And Nimona was also nominated for the Best Animated Feature Oscar.
Wasn't
Um,
Wendell and Wild also a straight to Netflix thing?
yeah, that was also really good, and
Yeah.
definitely some vibes from that with like the Oracle characters and their introduction. It was straight out of Wendell and Wild. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't imagine they could have directly referenced that with the timing and everything, but
Well, the Oracles 100% reminded me of a Pixar character. I was like, they
yeah,
Oh
were
yeah.
goofy, they were round, they're blue. I was like, these, I was like, I couldn't like specifically pick out one character that it reminded me of, but I was like, these remind me of a Pixar character.
No, there's a movie that came out not super long ago where there's like blue people and aren't they like college age and it was Pixar?
Are you talking
oh,
about Elemental?
oh yeah.
No.
Onward.
Onward, yes.
Well, they're like,
Those
yeah,
people
they're like beast,
reminded
like mythical people.
they just kind of squished them into more of a circular shape. But I thought
Yeah.
they were funny, these little cohabitating men having their tea parties and seeming to live
Mm.
together in their egg house. Oh, that was another thing I thought that
They're roommates, Jody. They're
was okay.
roommates.
Yeah.
Ernie and Bert. But like I did like the imagination used with their like Uber Lyft was like a big giant toad that they rode in the mouth of essentially. And their house was an egg and a big old owl sat on top of it. Just little stuff like that was fun.
5 stars to the frog Uber.
And he
Uh,
has the little on his tonsils, he had a air freshener.
right. This is a little tree. Yeah, some of the designs were like these chonky looking character, very rotund sort of in some of these character designs, maybe reminiscent of, Mr. Lots of Huggin Lassiter himself, who's this kind of jolly old, you know, goofball character from the Pixar animation studios who helped kind of revitalize animation at Disney as well. But then, of course, got ousted due to kind of sexual misconduct allegations and stuff.
Yeah, I
So,
had to look into that. One of the videos I watched, they were like, "Oh, the disgraced guy," and I was like, "Why is he disgraced?" I'm like, I'm not hip on the tea with them, so I had to go look it up because I was
Wait, give me a quick synopsis of it.
y'all know who John Lasseter is, correct? The director
Yeah.
of Toy Story. Yeah, I mean, he likes to wear Hawaiian shirts to work and the whole big story. Like he was just really kind of the passion that drove those early films at Pixar, and he was the archetype for Andy, who loved his toys and treated them well, whereas like other members of the studio were like, oh, most kids are more like Sid. They treat their toys like, garbage. But the one exception, of course, was Lasseter, who just had nothing but like pure love and joy. He was like the quintessential, I guess, goody two shoes almost. But no, yeah, it was just an unfortunate case of him being a little bit too affectionate, in a sense.
Yeah, apparently, from what I read, allegedly it was like unwelcome touches, but
Mhm.
also
Jeez.
apparently a lot of people theorized it also had to do with like political stuff because he was like basically the guy that was like a step down, but like after I think it was Bob Iger at the time,
Maybe.
and so they thought that it was kind of like also a political move to kind of push him out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is who they reminded me of, if you can see it. The
Oh
guy from
wait.
Monsters Inc.
Oh,
With
right.
like
Ah,
university.
yes, even with the little mustache.
Yes. I was like, he looks like a Pixar character, and I was racking my brain. I was like, I know it's one I've seen, but yeah, Monsters Inc. University, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah, I guess once he was hired, there was some controversy surrounding that. Just I don't know, because yeah, he was kind of he was essentially Me Too'd, but
Mhm.
it wasn't anything, I guess, severe enough to totally,
Not like a crime
I don't
per
know,
se.
yeah. But like they upped their staff from like 90 people at Skydance Animation to like 300 or 600. So it was some crazy amount. Like so they really did accelerate. Okay, 60 the studio grew from 65 employees to nearly 900 as of July 2022 after Lasseter was hired. So I mean the guy is still influential. However, like the Skydance animation just doesn't seem to have any kind of cultural footprint. Luck, the Spellbound, like these aren't films that are being recognized more broadly than I'm sure probably getting, at least a little bit of play amongst families and folks at home just looking for stuff to watch.
That's
But
basically what we did. We were just looking for something to watch.
because Luck cost $140 million to make. There is no posted budget for Spellbound, but I'm guessing it was a similar amount. $140 million to make a movie like this, which is, yeah, that's theatrical level, Pixar, Disney animation scale. So like if you're producing these films or if you're having to foot the bill for them, like maybe Apple or Netflix, yeah, I mean, Nimona, I think, was a little bit compromised. That was a production that was taken over from the closure of Blue Sky, the Ice Age studio when Disney shut them down because they were a property of 20th Century Fox, and they were working on Nimona, and the animation was kind of simplified for that film. It was more of a cell shaded aesthetic, whereas this, of course, is more just the fully 3D rendered, fully textured art style, which I thought looks good. Some people, I guess, were saying it looked maybe a little cheaper. I don't know. It's hard to judge, and it's kind of not necessarily as in style to like make things so photoreal nowadays, I think either, because you
Why would
want
you
to
say
have
that
that.
is? That they are kind of like trying not to be too real with the animation.
Just Uncanny Valley. Yeah.
Yeah, you like Polar Express. You fly too
Yeah.
close to the sun and everything looks weird.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
looked it up. Apparently, Luck actually came out in like some theaters. I didn't realize that, um,
Okay.
which is
Interesting.
kind of crazy
And that
because
was
I just
net
don't feel like it did
or
that well.
that was Apple. So I think they're a
Yeah.
little more friendly towards theatrical distribution. They definitely are. Like they um, released movies like I think Argyle and Killers of the Flower Moon. But Netflix, I know the CEO has expressed like open hostility towards theatrical distribution in the past, which is kind of sleazy, but that's just not their model, I guess. If they want to have a film eligible for like Oscar contention, then it has to at least get some kind of a limited theatrical run. But I don't even know if this one did to qualify for being considered for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Maybe it did, and I don't know if the rules are still the same. Maybe there are some changes now post COVID and stuff to get something like this through. But yeah, I don't think this movie would get any consideration regardless. It's just my
Probably not.
yeah.
Even though, oh, I did look it up. Rachel Zegler, she got Best Actress at the Golden Globes.
Really?
Yeah,
For West
for
Side?
West Side Story. Yeah, I was like, I knew it was like a big thing because it was like her first like role, and she immediately got Best Actress, and it was like a big award thing. But I couldn't remember which one it was.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing, yeah, best performance by an actress in a motion picture, musical or comedy. Wow. Yeah, she was totally snubbed by the Oscars. I think there was
Hmm.
even I don't know,
It was a
some
conspiracy because they didn't even invite her at first.
to the ceremony. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I see her a lot. She does this online or sort of like a YouTube podcast slash, they call it a talk show. It's affiliated with the UCB theater in New York. It's not the easiest combination of words. Upright Citizens Brigade that puts on the actor by the name of Connor Ratliff does a show called the George Lucas Talk Show. And of course, an obsessive Star Wars fan like me, yeah, kind of I've been indulging in that lately. And she actually shows up on the George Lucas Talk Show quite a bit, this random UCB project. So it's kind of fun.
Is she a big Star Wars person or she's just there?
She's a nerd, definitely.
Okay.
She's gotten
Is
a little like heat for her role with Snow White. I don't know if you guys have heard this. Like some people are thinking that she's too feminist or whatever because in the interviews she just doesn't seem to have that Disney charm or whatever. Bridget, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do because Godfrey and I have talked about this because he finds her pretentious. He was like, I find her very pretentious,
Yeah, I think a lot
which,
of people, she like doesn't rub them quite the right way.
yeah,
They're like, ew, they need to recast Snow White. Like Rachel Ziegler was not the choice. Like this movie is gonna be a flop. She's too much, blah blah blah. So like there's been a lot of chatter like that out in the internets.
yeah. Like
no,
he just
she,
finds her like
yeah,
pretentious because he's like, why, if you hate like princess movies so much, why are you being in one? And so that was like his like
yeah.
I guess sticking point. But I get it because I have friends because I did theater and I have friends who live in New York and do theater and they're kind of pretentious.
And I
She
mean, she
just
was
So
a
I
doesn't,
can
princess
get it
in
a
this
little bit.
movie. She
yeah.
just wants to be
No,
that
yeah.
different kind of princess, the one that
Yeah.
wears pants, which she gets to in this movie. There's no
Yeah.
love, but she's royal.
She doesn't have that much of a filter, and she's young and into
Yeah.
SJW stuff and
Well,
just
that's why
like
I was like, I don't know. She very much reminds me of like my sister is a Gen Z, and she's very much all also kind of like that. So I'm like,
kind
yeah,
of a
she kind of
bleeding
just
heart.
reminds
Yeah,
me, yeah, and reminds me of my sister and my sister's friends. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I could see it.
uh, whatever. I find the whole um you know like over.
Anti-men, say it.
Yeah, she comes off as very like and almost anti-white people or whatever, but she passes as Caucasian in my book, I think. Rachel Zegler, I mean, sounds like a normal. I don't know. She's probably part
Is
Jewish,
she
maybe
Hispanic?
Hispanic as well. I don't
I
know.
thought she was Hispanic, but I could be wrong. Okay,
But
she's Colombian and Polish.
Oh,
Well, because so her mother's of Colombian descent. Her maternal grandmother immigrated from Colombia, and then her father is of Polish descent, which Godfrey's Polish and English.
yeah,
If you
I mean,
guys couldn't tell by our last name, um,
just pokes fun and
yeah,
obviously has a ton. It's like most of my friends, most of my best friends are white. Uh, but
yeah. Well, that's what I was like. I wasn't really like honestly, I hadn't really even seen her say anything about it, but I was like, oh, she's cute. She sings. She could be
yeah,
Snow White. That's fine. I didn't care.
she's great. She's from New Jersey. Um, she's in this rarefied air of of being in a ton of huge blockbuster movies just lately with Shazam even and
I didn't realize
Hunger
she was in
Games.
Shazam, but I guess I didn't
Yeah,
see that one. I didn't see the last one.
yeah. I mean, kind of co-lead, basically Maria, in a Steven Spielberg movie. It's like, yeah, she gets to kind of pop off if she wants to, because that's just you would get a little. It would be so easy to let all this stuff kind of get to your head. And I think for the profile that she's at, and in my experience seeing her on these like just random internet talk shows, like she is, impressively down to earth for the level she's at in her career.
Yeah, especially at like 23. She's so young.
oh, 23.
Yeah, she was
Oh
born
my
in
God.
2001.
Oh,
I was 10 when she was born,
the
so
towers were
weird.
still they were still standing when she was
They were.
born.
Her birthday was in May, so they were
Hmm.
still there. She doesn't even know. They don't even know yet.
Okay, well, I don't know, yeah, this alien Princess Ellie. It's like the most like AI generated fantasy name. Like,
I know, and her parents aren't any better with
Alien?
their names.
Oh yeah, they're like, well, it's weird. I was like, I don't know if they're just trying to go for like mythical kingdom people, or if they were like trying to like, because you know how like Wish is kind of like Iberian Peninsula kind of way. So I was like, are they
Mhm.
trying to like hearken to like a certain area, or is it just mythical kingdom?
just
Couldn't quite tell.
just mythical. They have to
Just
like
mythical.
enter the kingdom through the gate, I guess, even though they're on these griffins, they're just flying around. But I guess there's some kind of protective shield enchantment, I guess, over the kingdom that prevents them from flying over the wall. That's never established. And there's not like a lot of hard sorcery on display here. Like they have to appeal to the oracles for any kind of like magical intervention with the parents who are transformed into these monsters, the king and the queen. And this is a secret, very Frozen. Oh my gosh, like the Frozen plot lines that are being ripped off are just stacking up from the get. Um,
Wait, like what?
the fact that like they're concealed away in this cat.
Oh, okay.
They
And no one
concealed.
can
They
come
didn't
to the
feel.
Nobody
birthday
nobody
party.
knows. No one knows what's
Oh,
going
the
on, and
parents are Elsa. Okay, okay.
yeah.
Continue. Continue.
You're like, wait, in what way?
Yeah, it's just like, but yeah, yeah, and yeah, what role does magic play in this? It's clearly a very magical environment. They're like elf people. They've got pointy ears, um, but there isn't like a wizard character as part of like the castle, the king and queen's court, as you would maybe expect from this type of fantasy.
They did have
Uh,
the advisors, which I definitely thought were going to be the villains at first.
Yeah, they're just kind of there. They're
Yeah, because
not
they're like,
magical. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, oh, we're gonna make her like she's gonna be the queen, and then we can kind of like, I guess
I mean,
lead her to do things we want her to do, but then like don't they just immediately are like helping get the monsters back to parents. And I was like, oh, okay.
the most fun part about those two characters, the advisors, is one of them's it was like good to see Lord Farquaad back doing a voice.
Oh, is that
Uh,
who it was?
John Lithgow, yeah, it's
Yeah.
Bolinar. Yeah. And then he's given this he gives himself like this crazy nickname later in the movie, like when the parents are starting to be able to talk again. And like he refers to himself as Lord Candy Pants. If that's supposed to be a reference to his name in Shrek, this very obscenely named Lord, Farquaad, which, you can deduce what that name is meant to resemble. Lord
Well, that's like
F-Wad.
I will say the whole the dance the like the song number when they like find the other little animals like whatever that species is of like little gerbil things that was like bizarre.
Is
I was like,
the
are they gonna eat him? Do they worship him? What are we doing? That
the
was a weird part for me.
What are they called?
yeah.
Finkuses?
He's called Flink, but I don't know what like the species is.
Well,
Very
they did
weird.
some real damage during the final battle scene. I thought it was super cute how all of them, they're kind of like meerkats or whatever, digging tunnels. And then they would dig straight up, creating a hole for the army people to fall into.
Yeah. Well, because they do that in the dance number too. I think the princess falls into one at some point
Oh,
during
yeah,
like
you're
the little
right.
dance number. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, I very much was like, okay, do they want to kill them? Do they want to help them? What are we doing in this dance number? And then they just like, oh, send them on their way. And I was like, oh, okay. So they're good. They're good. Okay, nice. I just apparently just thought everyone was going to be the villain. The advisors weren't the villains. The weird species gerbil things were not the villains. I guess it wasn't really a villain at all.
It's just so, yeah, this movie's just very inert.
It's a little all over the place, but like in a goofy
Yeah.
way.
And
I
maybe
don't,
that's
yeah.
sort of what happens when they're trying to like revise and fix. They just lose the overall plot of it.
Yeah, they lost the plot, literally.
Yeah, they got to the end, the last 30 minutes. They're like, wait, 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 the divorce, the divorce. Okay.
How do we
Yeah,
work this back in?
like the big battle at the end is yeah, just the Flinks coming in and firing grubs out of their puffy cheeks at these soldiers. I mean,
They're
I guess
basically hamsters. That's what they are to me. They're like
not
hamsters.
not all the creature designs are super chonky because the soldiers are riding these kind of gazelle looking things. So they're very like sleek uh, and bony. Kind of cool designs on those characters, those creatures. Yeah, fantasy creatures and the grubs that are straight out of, Lion King, similar preferences to Timon and his love of slimy, juicy critters. Um, and yeah, it's like yeah, you're using these as weapon. Also, like the king Flink comes in and they tickle his armpits or whatever so that he sneezes out a whole load of these these larvae at one of the soldiers, and then gets covered, sort of like he's Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before
Oh,
Christmas.
that's a great comparison.
Yeah. That was like the only one of the only, moments of like visceral. Well, I guess the bugs and the grubs, if you're averse to that kind of thing, that might get a little, um, I don't know. Did that gross you out ever? Or
Eh, not really.
yeah,
No, not really. I mean, would I personally want to be covered in bugs? No. But
I don't.
like,
It looked kind of appetizing in some of the scenes.
wait,
Yeah,
don't they like make like a drink or food or something that he eats during that
he
Yeah,
song?
it looks
they
like
squish it.
boogers.
Yeah, they
They
squish it
Yeah.
squish
into
it
the.
all together and then they kind of whip it up like a cotton candy on a stick. And he's like, I could get used to this.
That was gross. I would rather just have the grub in its worm form, unmolested.
I wouldn't. It makes me think of the show Survivor, where they put little larva like on a bowl and it starts to crawl around, and they're like, all
Oof.
right, you got to eat it to get him. Do you guys watch that show, Survivor?
I have
Mm.
before. It also reminds me of Fear Factor because they also had to do stuff like that.
Fear Factor.
I've had
Yeah.
the Mexican lollipops with the, worms
Scorpion?
inside of them, or
I've seen the one
scopes.
with the scorpions and stuff, and I'm always
Yeah,
like intrigued, but I'm not gonna get it. But
hmm
I look at them.
but yeah, not it's I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of odd, yeah, bug play. But I guess yeah, it is sort of like this character. Oh, I'm getting used to my new body. It's going through a transformation.
Well,
Uh,
I love when the like whatever, the hamster is in his body and they're like, "Ah, yes, we." He's like in his like night
armor set, yeah.
stuff, the armor and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, yes. We're gonna do whatever you say." And he's like, "All right." Just doing nonsense because he's a gerbil.
Yeah, I guess that it wasn't treated as a complete we got to put this character, in some kind of holding pen until he gets um, sorted out because yeah, they put him in his armor and he is able to accompany them like in the Flink form. I don't know. Yeah, it's just there's a similar character in a David Lynch show that I watched recently. Of course, David Lynch has been in the news, the famous director, one of the creators of Twin Peaks. He recently
You
died.
say, didn't he die? Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
there's a character who gets like body swapped in the show Twin Peaks: The Return, the most recent season of Twin Peaks, and it's a similar case of like a character just being totally inept, mostly nonverbal, but people just kind of still going about their lives around him and just only sort of looking at him askance. It strains disbelief as to how he's able to continue kind of functioning in society but they sort of make it work. Um, yeah, there are like moments in this movie. Yeah, I appreciated some of the references to like Lord Candy Pants. Oh, it's sort of a tamer version of, Lord F. Wad. I don't know. There's just not a lot. The music, I was like, yeah, this is like diet, part of your world, sort of. But I didn't realize it was Alan Menken until after I watched the movie, and it's like, oh, okay, so he was giving us some of his
Yeah,
sugar-free material.
it was like I didn't know either till right before we hopped on, and it was giving inspired by or like reimagined Alan Menken, like
Yeah.
he was saving his best stuff for other work.
Well, they said he like teamed up with two other people who he had like worked with on Tangled. So I was like, okay, that checks out because it was like Disney light in regards to the music. I was like, a little bit, a nod.
Did you guys happen to see Mufasa?
No,
I
Oh,
didn't.
I don't
No,
know if I
I
will.
haven't. No.
the music in that
I heard
is
the music
stellar.
slaps, but I
It
mean, it's
was,
Lin-Manuel.
I know, but I mean, everybody has a flop here and there, and the music was so great. Like the movie itself, I don't know, but oh, the music was super good.
I haven't, I obviously haven't seen it, but I always hear the music because of like reels and TikToks and stuff. So
Hmm.
is that this is my brother?
What
I'm
did
like,
you say about my brother? I always
yeah.
wanted a brother.
It's like that like repeats in my head, and I haven't even like heard the whole song or seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure there are moments of that film that are, certainly interesting and worthwhile, but I don't know. I gave this the time of day because it's short, it's on Netflix, I can watch at home, and it just and I do enjoy the look of movies like this that have kind of that Pixar feel, and the fact that this has like the, you know legacy of, oh, the founder of Pixar is now working at a different studio, and yeah, I'd never gotten around to finally seeing Luck, which I'll probably check out at some point, because that was the first feature from Skydance Animation. But I was curious to see what these, Skydance films were like, and what didn't impress me much upon the
Maybe they're
first.
setting the bar there so that the next one you see, you're like, wow.
Well,
Mm.
okay,
Don't
I
call it a
I
comeback.
watched the opening logo is based on their first um, short film, or yeah, Blush, which was released in 2021 on Apple TV. So that was after, okay, October 1st, 2021 was when Blush was released on Apple Plus.
And this is what you sent us in the chat, right?
Yes.
I
And
haven't watched it yet, but I want to.
okay, Luck was released August in 2022. Okay. So that was a little after like COVID. They could have put that in theaters. Oh, you said it did get a limited theatrical
Yeah, it had
run.
like limited theater run.
But Blush, which did predate both Luck and Spellbound, this short film. Okay, I I was a complete wreck from this film, and
Isn't it only like
unexpectedly.
10 minutes?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes.
All right, you guys, just know it's gonna
Sometimes all
ruin your
you need
life.
is 10
Yeah,
minutes.
you guys prepare to get your life ruined in 10 minutes.
I did say before this chat, I said I can watch the short really quick and we can talk about that instead because it sounds like you really liked it. And now I'm really
Wait,
curious about it.
so you haven't watched? I mean,
Haven't yet. No.
you'll be in for a treat. Blush is incredible. No, it's 10 out of 10. Incredible. So yeah, they've done good work here at the studio. It was a 10-minute short film, all, admittedly, but they're capable. They've got potential.
Sorry, I'm
I have to get
pulling.
my, I don't have Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever.
Yeah, Apple TV
So
Plus.
yeah, I have to, I'm like, earlier and you were like, oh, I could watch it. I was like, my parents have it. So I'd be like, oh, I just text my parents and get theirs.
Yeah, I
Can't
have an
realize.
iPhone, and I guess you still have to pay for the subscription, which I have been paying for the past, I probably haven't used Apple TV Plus to watch a show for many months. since like got away from Slow Horses. I was watching, and I haven't finished that series. I'll probably get back to it eventually. But then I just started a new season of Severance, which is now airing.
Ah, I've
So
seen a lot of advertising for that. I've never watched it before, but I'm very curious to check it out.
yeah, yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, my
Um,
mom's told me she's given me her login before, but I couldn't find it because she's always like, "You need to watch this show, and you need to watch this show." And I think Severance was one of them. She's like,
I
"You have to
can't
watch
really,
it."
I can't really remember what happened in the first season of Severance. Like I'm a little bit, I don't know, adrift now on this second season. It's a very though. Abstract. Like it is sort of David Lynch-esque in just how kind of bizarre and non-linear, non-literal kind of this whole scenario is. Just kind of a neat premise of like, oh, what if there were times during the day where you couldn't remember, what you were doing, and you have your personality split off into a completely different person, basically, who's only
Did
awake
you
during these. Yeah.
did you see what they did to like promote the new season?
No, what?
Good.
It was like they set up basically like a cubicle, like a little four-piece cubicle in like a glass square. I think it was in Central Station, and it had Adam Scott and like two of the other people on the show in it, like working. And then like at some point Ben Stiller like walks up and like is taking pictures.
And they're just
And
working like they're like doing a normal work day.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
just like in there working and everyone's obviously outside the glass like taking pictures and stuff. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's a really like fun way to promote your show. I feel like because it's the actual actors, like it's them doing it.
Nice. Well, good for them. It's the first time I'm hearing of it. Okay, well, I don't know. I've said pretty much all I care to say about.
I was gonna say you're limited
Spellbound out.
content with this one.
But no, I mean, if you got kids, definitely check it out. It's got some music. It'll probably keep
Yeah.
you invested for a few minutes.
And
Yeah,
if
or
they're
if you're
young enough,
frozen inside and you can't
yeah.
leave your house, turn it on.
And
It'll
if
bring
they're young
Yeah.
enough, they don't know it's about divorce, so it's a good time.
you'll find out at the end though.
I mean, if they'll get clued into the topic eventually, if you show them movies like The Santa Claus and
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire and, all the other 90s movies that deal with
And Mrs.
parents. Yeah.
Doubtfire, do they get back together or do they stay divorced?
No, they stay divorced.
Okay, because I've seen some movies where they're like, oh, they were gonna get divorced, and then they at the end they come back together as a family. But I haven't watched Miss Doubtfire in at least 10 years, so I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm just kind of like, sure, people grow apart and they would rather remain monsters even like they've regained the ability to speak and they're anthropomorphized a little bit as they go about their journey. I don't know exactly why like they're improving. I guess in this dark forest of eternal darkness, there's magic, and so like positive magic will allow some of these traits. I know as I guess they're bonding with their daughter too. I think that's kind of supposed to be the magic that's allowing them to reclaim their humanity. They remember because she's probably not been interacting with them much as they've been sort of sequestered away in the castle. They're trying to keep them hidden. She feeds them cake, so they start referring to her as Cake Girl
Cake
once they
Girl.
start, yeah, regaining their speech.
Ah, cake girl.
But like, yeah,
Do they ever like show where they turn into the monsters, or is the movie just they start monsters?
They start monsters because her
Okay.
opening song is "My parents are monsters."
Yeah, that's what I was.
exactly.
I couldn't remember, like, because I'm like, what? Did they get cursed? How did they become monsters? Just because they were like fighting and angry all the time? I have
Yeah,
questions,
This
plot
weird
holes.
tornado ribbon, like this super cheesy. Like it's comical how cheesy that effect is of the tornado.
The anger depression tornado.
I used to be like, yeah, tornadoes, when you're a kid, like it's terrifying, like the movie Twister, but like the fact that it's like a licorice tornado, like out of a 90s commercial for Twizzlers or something, it totally doesn't really sell the terror as much as something like that, I think, ought to. I mean, I'm sort of reminded of like the spirit creatures from Raya, the last, like those were kind of terrifying,
Hmm.
Yeah.
blob monsters. But like this random like PS2 like effect, visual effect of just these ribbons. Yeah, the licorice. It was humorous to me. I don't. Yeah, this movie's a mess. I don't know what to say.
That's the perfect way to end it on. It was
Yeah.
a mess, but
But a fun
A
mess.
beautiful mess. A
a
beautiful.
Yeah.
beautiful, bright musical mess.
Rachel Zegler's a beautiful actress. Her outspokenness and sort of obnoxiousness, I totally understand. Like people kind of being put off by that, but I don't know. You have to dig deeper and look underneath, and you'll be able to find the true love within. Um,
You're
but I
telling us
guess
that we need to dig a little deeper, a la
yeah, Mama
Tiana?
Odie, yeah.
We're all like
Um,
trying to think of literally any other movie or show that we want to talk
it's just
about besides
Yeah.
Spellbound. Yeah, Tiana, Severance,
And I'm sure I'll feel the same way,
Mufasa.
once I guess, yeah, uh, obligate, out of obligation, go and see, Snow White. I don't
I'm
know. I'm
excited to see
curious.
it. I think that looks whimsical. And I like Galbit, what's her name?
Get
Oh,
out.
Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I think she'll be a great evil queen.
Oh, I know. Godfrey and I talked about that, and he was like, "She's too hot." He was
Oh,
like, "Why are you picking them so young?" He was like, "Actually, pick someone who is aging." He was like, "Stop picking the hot ones." And I was like, "Oh, like Charlize Theron. She was the one.
Oh yeah.
Was she in the Kristen Stewart one?"
Um, yes, that's right.
And I'm like, she was 10 years younger, so she was like barely 40. And he was like, "Yeah, they should have just gotten Charlize Theron now because she's older."
Kristen Stewart, Snow
That,
White.
you don't remember that? It was like
That's,
Snow White and the Huntsman,
that's right.
and she was
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
old good old Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Uh,
I don't love her. But
Gal
I'll
Gadot.
Twilight days, so
I think that'll work fine. I don't know, Gal Gadot doesn't have the best, she doesn't have the greatest like just acting range, but as
yeah.
far as a presence, she's definitely got the riz. Yes,
I
She's
do
got the
feel like
look.
they've been promoting this movie for like 8 years, so I'm ready for it to come out and I'm gonna go to it.
that's true. It's been too yeah, too long and it's sort of like the road to the release for Spellbound, but nobody, knew anything
Knew it.
about Spellbound. But yeah, Snow White, it's got all the eyeballs being part of Disney. So yeah, it'll be nice once it's all over. And yeah, Rachel Zegler, continue to just keep doing what you're doing. I don't know. I'm not, I can see why people get upset, but it's just the way part
Also,
of
why
part of
they love
the
her.
the ecosystem. Yeah, the online. You gotta generate that buzz. All right. Well, oh, she was in that movie Y2K, produced by A24 recently, which I want to see, but I missed when it was in theaters.
I
So
have not heard of that.
Y2K, yeah, it's like a little indie movie. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up here. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Bridget, for talking some fairy tales, and yeah, would have been maybe more interesting if they'd gone deeper into like what's this world like? This what
Yeah.
was even the random name of the kingdom? It was some nondescript. It's gotta be here on the Wikipedia page. Lumbria, magical
Oh
kingdom.
yeah, Lumbria.
Lumbria.
I didn't know that's what you were looking for.
That sounds like a body part. My lumbria hurts.
The lumbar.
Yeah. So yeah, just like it's got all the elements, but like everything about these various elements just comes off as a bit uninspired. Yeah, looks nice, but at the end of the day, I didn't really. Maybe if my parents had similar struggle, what I mean, who doesn't have parents who had similar struggles to like what King Ellesmere and Queen Ellesmere and King Solon, played by Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem, respectively, have.
Did Nicole Kidman have an accent in that movie?
No, I think she's just doing like an American accent.
Okay, I wasn't sure because like obviously she's Australian, but I was like,
Yeah.
because Javier Bardem
Or
obviously has an accent, but I was like, she didn't put on a weird accent, did she? Because I can't remember.
yeah, yeah,
Nicole Kidman's kind
definitely
of
had his
funny.
accent.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to do like a Spanish accent or something, I don't think, but
I didn't like when I watched it, I wasn't like, oh, this is Nicole Kidman. There's a lot of people I could pick out, but I was like, I don't know who this is when I watched it the first time.
I remember hearing just from guest appearances on George Lucas talk show and Rachel Zegler promoting this movie. Watch Spellbound, me and Nicole Kidman on Netflix. It's like, oh, that's I have no context or no consciousness of this movie ever existing, but it, I guess, randomly dropped on Netflix on November 22nd, and I
I didn't
hadn't
see
seen
much
any
like
posters.
yeah, I haven't seen much marketing for it. I do think they have toys, but because my kids are on my Netflix account,
Right.
it was like, hey, new kid movie out. You want to watch it? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll watch that, I guess. Something new.
All right. Well, is it driving subs? Is it earning back that $150 million or whatever?
I'm gonna say no is my big guess.
I mean, apparently it was top three for a hot minute on
Oh,
Netflix, so
interesting.
it did
Well,
fine, I
yeah, I
think.
guess Wendell and Wild was a similar situation. Very unfortunate, especially for a studio. Like, was that technically a Leica film? Is definitely a lot of the same people.
I'm not
Um,
sure.
but yeah, just like stop motion animation. Was Wendell and Wild officially one of their releases? I don't know.
Mm,
Missing Link um, is their most recent release. Wendell and Wild was just kind of adjacent to that.
yeah, that's what I was
Weirdly.
looking for. It's like Netflix, Monkey Paw Productions.
Yeah, yeah, funny. And
Hmm.
well, it's out there for people to watch who are interested. And yeah, like the Sea Beast and Nimona, those got maybe a little more traction because of the best animated feature noms. Um,
Well, I love Nimona. And I remember Nimona, I didn't know anything about when we watched it on Netflix the first time. Like I had not heard any marketing, nothing. And we watched it and I was like, oh, that was a really good movie.
no, and there are other movies I know on Netflix that we've just totally overlooked. There's like that Adam Sandler, like
Leo,
Leo, yeah, the
where
well,
he's like the lizard.
lizard iguana was the
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
word.
It was cute. We watched
Yeah.
it. But basically any movie that's on Netflix as a kid movie, we've watched it. I've seen all of them.
Okay,
At
interesting.
least once.
I feel like there are probably plenty more too, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm better off in my life probably not knowing some of these things exist. Just like, but rather go about my life, not necessarily having to be aware and conscious of every single um, um, like major production that is just being dumped on one of these streaming sites. Because there are not an insignificant amount, I feel, of random movies that just get added to these streaming services, and I
I feel like
just,
they make them so easy to crank out these days that
yeah,
sometimes, yeah, some of the stuff that gets on there, I'm like,
just like
I've seen
no.
YouTube videos that are better than some of the stuff that gets put on there sometimes. So
So sometimes if they're good, I'll probably hear about them. People will talk about them, but I'll wait for the reviews to come out. All right, well that does it. Any additional comments from either of you? Jody, I'll start with you if you got any final thoughts.
My final thought is I'm looking forward to like the next amazing animated movie that we all get super psyched and excited to talk about because these filler episodes, I'm like, none of us are really truly feeling it, but I feel like something's got to be in the works. And I thought it was cute and I liked it. And I love chatting about things, but good luck editing this one. This
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, well, they have that new movie that's coming out. I think that's Pixar this year about the boy. I'm intrigued.
Elio or Elio.
Yeah,
Oh,
Elio.
right.
I was like, I'm intrigued by that. I'm just, sometimes it's just so hard not to get burnt out by all of the sequels, prequels, remakes.
Hmm.
That I'm like, just give me something new. Unless it's Wicked too. I'm excited for that. It's not until November and it's January, the 22nd. So like, that's the next thing I'm looking forward to so far.
Yeah. Um, yeah, is any additional comments, Bridget, before we sign off?
Yeah, it is a cute movie if you just want to watch something with the kids, but I wouldn't say it's like the next Frozen. So
Right. Well, I'll link to socials in our notes and thoughtcast.com, various podcasting platforms. So check us out. Thank you for listening. Yeah, Spellbound didn't leave me spellbound, but hey, that's okay. Not everything has to be Citizen Kane.
not
All
everything
right.
can be strange magic, okay?
No, that's so true. Um, all right. Well, yeah, Spellbound. I don't know. This, sort of a fun, yeah, like harkening back to the moment in Wicked where Elphaba sees her younger self. Like there's sort of a poignant moment
Oh
in
yeah.
in Spellbound that's similar, but it's just like, okay, this all been played. It's like you gotta, love yourself, try to come to terms with your younger self that wants to, you know, still rise up within, find a healthy balance with embracing your childhood versus moving on. And yeah, moving on is definitely a big theme of this. And I understand, like, um, I think even once you're an adult, you don't really know um, the sort of pressures that result in like, well, why can't you just reconcile, get over your differences, treat me as your the glue that holds your relationship together, Ellie sort of, yeah, using this as like her reasoning for why her parents can just get over it and let me be your shining star, princess.
Let
Like
it go.
no, it's just not. Yeah, that's just not how relationships work. So that was obviously you know insightful and had some truth to it, but I don't think it wasn't the most interesting depiction of that dynamic. Um, they've got apartments on opposite sides of the kingdom, and I don't know. I guess that makes sense because the castle was like destroyed by the monsters, by them in their monster forms. So yeah, as they're refurbishing, they they have to do a bunch of renovations down to the main castle. So in the
They're just
meantime,
they're highlighting healthy co-parenting.
yeah.
Your parents are toxic together, let them divorce.
Yes. And,
Let
and
them
just kind
co-parent.
of, yeah, this 11th hour plot development where, oh, yeah, the parents were actually fighting and they didn't, they're never going to be able to get back together. And it's like, well, okay, they're king and queen. So that's just part of being monarchs is yeah you're probably not even marrying someone you love to begin with. It's a political union, so that's just that comes with the territory. That was kind of funny for me, but okay, it's a fantasy world, so yeah, these king and queen, they're supposed to be in love with each other or whatever, because it's a animated movie for
It's a movie.
kids.
They have to be in love. They're
But
family.
in real life, if they're a real king, the chances of them being this lovey-dovey couple is actually quite slim. Um, but they'll still, play the part just to maintain appearances. Whatever. It's all good. Sorry. All right. Well, that was the Thoughtcast on Spellbound from Netflix. I'm Philip. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you, Bridget. And we'll move on to bigger and brighter things in the year 2025. You all have a magical day, a wonderful week. Warm hugs.